Hey guys, welcome back to another Olympus Discussion. I'm Bedazzling Kate and already done with this video, but I just started this video, so yeah. Guess we're gonna be talking about another few annoying chapters of Lore Olympus. Now, I tried my best to basically be patient with waiting for new chapters, because I'm not paying to read anything that I'm just going to keep questioning about and trying to figure out how does this work. So anyways, if you think the story is going according to the myth, or if you think it's going to get better after like chapter 250, you're sorely mistaken. You're very mistaken. It just gets worse. Worse in storytelling mode, it gets worse in character development, it gets worse in all sorts of ways. So, what exactly happened? Now, there is three different categories: Apollo, Demeter, and Persephone. Now, I'm going to do this in an order to kind of make it easier for you guys to understand what's going on in the recent chapter. Let me be real, it doesn't make much sense to basically expect anything to make sense. So, you know how Persephone is the goddess of spring, and her birthday is the first day of spring, and she's there to make spring happen, and now it's apparently her powers inverted or something. Like, I don't know. Basically, she makes winter now. It doesn't make much sense considering they already have a god who's a freaking winter. Oh, right, we don't have them. Like, let me see. Greek god of winter. Boris. So, Greek god of the cold, north wind, and bringer of winter. So, where's he? You know, this guy, the winged one who's supposed to bring winter in. Oh, right, we don't need him anymore. It's Persephone who brings winter in. Like, wouldn't this be like really interesting to bring this guy in and try try and explain the new apparent powers of Persephone and how it connects to him? Oh wait, no, that would be too hard. That would be too hard for Rachel to think of, because remember this comic is highly focused on the romance, the baby sugar baby daddy relationship between Persephone and Hades, and demonizing everybody else. That's what it's basically here for now. Okay, okay. But it doesn't make much sense to basically now have her powers not work, even though the whole point of what happened in the original myth was that Persephone got, kidnapped. And Demeter wanting her daughter back brings in winter to show to the other gods that she's not fucking around. At least that's how it goes according in the. Do I have to rewind and see if I'm making any sense? Like okay. Yeah, like basically Demeter mourned her daughter. And as she did, a terrible winter fell on Earth and there was a mass famine, which she refused to like let anything grow again until she had her daughter returned to her. So basically this is connecting back to Demeter and not having her have any development or showing off her powerful moments, because she doesn't need them, because Persephone is perfect. Persephone's amazing. Persephone's the main character. Persephone. I can't. I can't. I can't function. Please explain to me why we didn't just go with the original myth of Demeter bringing in this moment of a terrible winter. Everybody was going hungry, and, showing that Demeter is not fucking around. Like, this would have been a great moment in the comic to show, hey, yeah, remember how Demeter is, mourning her daughter and trying to find her daughter, and then, she brings this winter because she refuses to grow shit for anybody, and it would, like, be a cause of death for everybody in the gods because they didn't have any, people to worship them, to make them gods. Remember that? Oh, right. We can't have that. We can't have that without Persephone getting in, because Persephone is important in this story. You see how ridiculous this sounds? That, oh, it's her bringing in winter, not Demeter. Like, why? My question is, why? Oh, yes, the answer. Persephone needs some more time to develop her personality and character, and everybody needs to relate to her, and God, I hate this. I'm sorry, I try my best to be as honest as possible, but seeing that one moment when it's just, like, going on, and again, I'm not a big mythology follower. I just know what people tell me and what they know about mythology. And then I Google check this stuff. I go onto other websites to check this out, and it confirms it. It confirms these little, mythologies. And the thing is, people say it took Rachel years to develop Lore Olympus, to do her research for Lore Olympus. But we're not really seeing any of that research put into this. And it's just being tossed away in favor of quick shits and giggles, quick money grabs, quick romance parts where, what the hell? Why is this here? When do we need this? Questions. But sure, yeah, let's dismiss all of this other important events and mythology and hopes to make it, worth the romance part, I guess. It's just... Okay, aside from Persephone developing her new Elsa powers, so yeah, let's move on to Demeter, who, again, the whole situation of the winter coming in was taken from her again. Like, there was only another moment where she's talking to Hades for the annual big ritual of, like, Persephone bringing spring to everybody, because that's who she is. She's the biggest goddess you have ever met. She has a special ritual to show how pretty and blooming she is, blah blah blah. Like, here's what it reminded me of. Now, I've written plenty of stories where my character, like, back when I was a kid, I would write these characters that would have these whole rituals dedicated to them, and, like, this is no joke, I literally had these characters that were overpowered, and I would make everyone worship the ground they were walking on, whether they were a god, superhero, or just a normal teenage girl. Like, we all had those moments of wanting to be worshipped, like, yeah. But the thing is that that's usually just stuff you keep to yourself. Like, you don't publish it and hope that people like the moments of you getting worshipped like a freaking god. Like, again, remember what I said before. Persephone is basically Rachel's self-insert. It's where she puts herself in so she feels like she's actually contributing to something. And it's unfortunate that we've gotten to this point of not learning to separate our serious work with our fan fictions of ourselves. Now, again, not a bad thing. If you want to write a story where you're a fucking god, go ahead. But don't fucking publish it and expect people to kiss your ass, because that's not going to happen. It's just not. Seriously. Don't hope for that, please. It kind of makes me think of, people like Chris Chan, who literally think they're a freaking god. Like, it's not like that level of insanity, but it just feels like the vibe. of, like, look at me, I'm super perfect, or the vibes of, somebody starting out in the, like, storytelling development world, and it's fine when you're starting out, but I've heard Rachel actually has had a project or two under her belt, so I'm not really sure how I should address this, but, like, shouldn't you be over that phase by now? Is the question. Anyways, so Demeter only has a time, like, moment between her and Hades where Hades finally decides to give her the volcanoes, even though the volcanoes were. Let me rephrase that. The volcanoes were given to him by his mother, and surely everyone should have known that, Like, why are the volcanoes very important? You'd think maybe Poseidon or Zeus would be like, yeah, the reason why he doesn't want people to have his volcanoes is because mom gave it to him. And, you'd think Demeter would realize that by now, especially considering they're just as old as each other, and there's, like, information about where they came from and how they developed. And you would think with these questions you would get, like, answers over time of knowing each other, and I get it. Not everyone knows every single part of a person's life, but you think in this situation, because it feels like everyone shares everything with everybody, that, maybe Demeter would find that out eventually with the amount of time she's known Hades. That's just. Sorry, it irritates me when things like this get overlooked. And yeah, it's supposed to be a happy moment between her and Hades finally settling down their weird rivalry connection thing. I don't know. I have no freaking clue. Oh yeah, and my favorite part is probably just Minthe being in the background, avoiding Hades and Demeter and the whole situation. Which, cool. I don't know how I would have felt if Rachel decided to be a dick and make Minthe just be like, you know what, I'm gonna be a bitch again. I'm gonna be a bitch to Hades. I'm gonna be a bitch to Demeter. And, basically having Persephone turn her back into a ment plant. Like, I'm kind of thankful she didn't go down that route, because it kind of felt like it might have led there, but maybe at some point it would have, maybe. But I guess she kind of figured it'd be better to just have Minthe have a normal friendship with all these other nymphs where she belongs. And it feels off to me in that area of discussion, because I don't know what to really say about, is it really a good ending? But yeah, that's another discussion for another time. Anyways, let's move on to Persephone a little bit again. So, losing her powers, she goes in, and here's the freaking kicker. Now, this is going to get connected back to Apollo, because Apollo decided to or attempt to get rid of Zeus, and, he blamed it on Hebe for, this cute dog cupcake thing. Like, are you seriously, like, I don't know. It just seems really stupid. Like, and then the whole Lion King kind of thing. Like, you can't be telling me this didn't give you Lion King vibes. Like, Apollo literally appearing to Hebe and being like, oh, you killed him. Like, Hebe, how could you? And her being like, no, I didn't do anything. And then what's worse is that you had Eros and his girlfriend, Psyche, basically get taken to a dungeon by Apollo's mom. I can't remember her name. And you didn't think, like, I have more questions than answers right now. You really think in this whole situation, and of course Apollo contacts the news media after this to make a big report about it and make a big point about it. And it's just like, what the frick? Like, what? And then of course, here's the kicker. Here's the freaking kicker. Here is the kicker of this so stupid thing. Like, remember when Persephone became a freaking giant and Kronos was like just just being Kronos and stuff, and she beat the crap out of him because she's Persephone, and then we had the news media appeared there, and it wasn't even a build up to that. They just suddenly appeared. Like, what the fuck? And then we have in this case of like I'm not saying like they should have been watching Zeus's house, but here's the thing: like, shouldn't they have been there for the first day of spring? Because they're supposed to be this like news or like, wouldn't that be important? Because in normal day culture, there's always the news focusing on some aspects of like day to day life. Like, you're telling me nobody's gonna come and record the first day of spring where Persephone, newly married to Hades, isn't gonna. There's not gonna be one news reporter there to focus on them. Or was Rachel thinking that was a bit too much? Because they needed that moment to be intimate. But just between her and her family and friends. Just alone like that. And you're telling me nobody was insisting for something like that. I would imagine Hades pushing for something like that, considering how much he clings to her. Like, hello, like, come on. And you're telling me they're not appearing at the first day of spring / Persephone's birthday and recording everything, and you're like, that would have been a big event had that actually happened, and it would have made more sense, and that way people would have known to avoid them at their surprise birthday party that they planned for Persephone. And they were so fucking busy they couldn't go see the freaking celebration themselves. We had all these characters who were just making a surprise birthday party for them, and they couldn't, like, why couldn't they just record, like, news thing going recording the first day of spring being brought to the realm, and then that being big news, and then them seeing that, like, that would have been bigger than just, oh, suddenly now Apollo has, like, the news media in his hand, and they're now, like, just, like, recording, oh, Zeus was poisoned, and it could have been Hebe, and then everyone's getting into each other's face about it, and then Apollo calling Hades to ask him to drop Persephone, and as he heard about, like, what happened at the spring situation, like, let me look back at it, because I'm just like, and it's just like, oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, and then, he's just like, oh yeah, I know all about Corey's little incident, which obviously is probably about the winter, clearly. And if he knows that, did somebody report about it and then tell him about it? This is a little confusing. Like, why isn't this staying consistent? And I'm sorry, guys. I'm rambling so much about this, but it feels inconsistent. So the news media can appear in the middle of nowhere with, like, Persephone becoming a freaking giant and fighting Kronos, but they can't make an appearance for her, like, spring thing, especially considering she is a celebrity in this. Like, literally a celebrity. They would be following, these gods around to record on these things, especially for the first day of spring. You'd think they would want to get the newly married Persephone captured on the camera doing this and making a big deal about it and being like, oh yeah, look at the, like, Hades' wife making spring happen. Isn't it so wonderful? And then seeing this, it doesn't make sense. And then in the middle of them recording it, they could have been like, oh wow, like, Zeus got poisoned, and everyone's like, what? That could have been the whole shocker thing, but no, it's Persephone, like, losing her freaking powers and now making snowballs. It doesn't make any sense. Again, I'm sorry if I'm going into a rush about every subject about this, but it doesn't really seem to go well when most of the when most of the plot seems to revolve around that one character that just doesn't like doesn't work well, and especially with Apollo now doing this whole I'm gonna trick everyone to not thinking it was me, even though Eros and Psyche. Let's get back to those two. Why aren't they like calling people through their phones? Like, are those magical? Do those prevent anything from leaving the basement? Like, why isn't like anyone like, especially after Hebe let them leave and they were going to get help and you'd think that somebody somewhere would have been like, oh yeah, I saw Psyche and Apollo, not Apollo, yeah, Psyche and Eros being kidnapped by Apollo's mom, so there's something there that's a little suspicious. You can't, like, I'm sorry, I'm just, it's so bothersome because there's so many factors in this that make no damn sense, and you're telling me nobody's gonna be calling up Eros or asking where Eros and Psyche are because they are important figures to make sure Eros actually does his job and pair people together so humankind can continue breeding. He's kind of an important figure, you know. You can't just trap him and Psyche into a freaking like cage and hope for the best because people will be asking questions, and people like other gods like Hermes or Thanatos who probably see Eros, considering they're all winged, beings who are very fast at their job. You're telling me none of them are going to notice that this guy isn't shooting arrows around, making people fall in love with them, and you're telling me that that's not gonna happen? Okay, this is so freaking ridiculous. This is like, it's just getting worse by every fucking chapter. And I haven't gotten a bingo yet for all the stupidity that's been in Lore Olympus. Isn't that great? Isn't that freaking great? Anyways, guys, I am done. I am done with this discussion. I am done. I can't believe we were just talking about this and I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done, guys. Anyways, tell me, what are your thoughts down below about this whole situation? Anyways, I will see you all in another video. Hopefully, I live after this. Because after another Lore Olympus chapter, I don't know how I can deal with anything. Anyways, stay safe, stay cool, and most importantly, stay hydrated. This is Dazzling Kate signing the hell out of here.